coming up on today's Next Fan Up podcast.
Patrick, this might be the last time we get you before Election Day on Tuesday. I know how much you have dedicated just to getting people out and making it eligible for them to use their vote. What would you say to them as we round the final turn?
Yeah, I would say just finish the job. Go out there, vote, use your voice. No matter where you live, no matter who you're voting for, use your voice and do whatever you think is best for you, this country, and your family.
If you're listening on Tuesday, go vote. If it's after Tuesday, I hope you voted. Here we go.
That's how we start. Yeah, baby.
32 super fans.
Where do the reports come from? Did you get an initial?
One PodVader.
That's football.
Every angle of the NFL covered.
All that kind of stuff, I get it.
This,
no question about it,
is Next Fan Up.
We're going to unleash hell here in December.
Hello and welcome to the NFL Sound Off, not a Week 8 recap edition of Next Fan Up podcast. As always, I am yours truly, PodVader, here with Eagles superfan James. Hello, James.
Hey, Pod. Great message to start out there. Definitely just go vote.
Just go vote. That's all we want to do is spread the message of going to vote. Let your voice be heard. Now, this week we've got a big slew of sound here for you this week. As James wrote back to me when I sent him the initial note, seems like more than enough. We do try and keep the show a little bit shorter than our Thursday preview podcast. But this week we're going to talk about celebrating. We're going to talk about another important day today. Do you know what else it is today, James?
Let's see. Voting. Yeah, I got nothing.
It's trade deadline day. So we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Wait, wasn't that last week?
No. They thought it was last week because of the COVID protocols, but I was like, it doesn't make any sense. Who cares if you get the player for week 9 or week 10? To me, it's a wash either way. So today is the trade deadline at 4 p.m. Eastern. So if you're listening to this after 4 o'clock Eastern, there might have been a trade that occurred since we recorded this podcast. Oh, well, we missed it.
Most likely will be.
Most likely will be. I've got some concerns about quarterbacks across the league that I want to address. Dalvin Cook is really tired. Cam Jordan's got nicknames. There's actually a refreshing statement from a head coach in the NFL at a press conference. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. It was pretty impressive. And perhaps there's a podcast that doesn't exist that needs to exist. And it's time that we just make it happen. So all of that is coming up on today's edition of the NFL Sound Off podcast. Let's go back to Kansas City. That's where Patrick Mahomes resides. Did you see the whooping the Chiefs put on the Jets this week?
No different than the whooping that everybody put on the Jets, this season, but that remains to be seen for Monday night.
That's kind of my point. I don't. If you're the Chiefs and you're the number one team, you're the Kansas City Chiefs. You're that team, and you're up against the New York Jets. Should you be celebrating when you're up by 3 touchdowns and you're covering the Vegas spread?
It depends. Have they been there before?
Listen, I was a little put off by all the celebrations, but let's hear what Patrick Mahomes had to say about this.
Hey, Patrick, I was just curious what went into that touchdown celebration with Tyreek, and it actually looked like you tried to give him a ride on his first one also, and then maybe didn't make it quite as far.
No, the first one, I was just trying to get him out of the stands. I'm just because he went up there, and I don't know the rules on that, but I know it's not probably the best thing to do. So I was trying to get him back down. And then the second one, it looked like he was a little dinged up. So, he made a great play on the ball, and I got him over there, and luckily he ended up being fine. So we're just having fun out there.
Now, I don't want to be called a hypocrite on this. I'm definitely not the no fun league. And I know called for, and last week I'm pretty sure I said, where are all the celebrations this year? But to me, there's a line of sportsmanship that I feel the Chiefs crossed. They went way over it. I mean, you're beating down a team that is clearly lesser than you. Like, have a little bit of respect for the other guys on the other side of the field.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Who are you?
I'm the guy.
This from a guy. Wait. Time out. This coming from a guy whose former quarterback once said on a radio show, "I would have scored every time I have the ball. Losing sucks, especially to the Jets."
Well, that is true. That's 100% fact. You never want to lose to the Jets. That's fact. No,
you think anybody else does?
Listen, I'm just saying, go out and have some fun and do some celebrations. But maybe when you're up by 3 touchdowns and the other team clearly has no shot of getting back in this game. And yeah, I get they're professionals on the other. I'm a little less.
Everybody gets paid, Jay.
Everybody gets paid, so they get paid to get made fun of. I guess in a way, I'm just still about. I wish there was just a little bit more sportsmanship. Tyrann Mathieu had this to say about the team's attitude in the celebrations.
Hey, Tyrann, you're always animated on the field during games, but it felt like you were a little more amped up maybe than normal today. Did you feel like did I read that wrong, or did you feel like maybe the guys needed a little juice going into this particular game today?
Well, it's November. It's December football, January football. I think at this point in the season, we are who we are, as a team. And, so it's all about playing with swagger. It's all about playing with emotions, controlled emotion, and just going out there playing hard as you can for your brothers. But November, December football, I mean, that's the only way you punch a ticket, to play in the postseason. So we got to play our best. We got to feel our best. We got to bring everybody to that level.
If you need more juice to play against the Jets, there's a bigger problem on your team.
Hey, look, as we saw on Sunday, there were some games that should have been blowouts, and the underdogs actually won by double digits.
I saw them on Good Morning Football refer to Week 7 as being drunk, and I agree. It was
yes, it was.
It's a crazy, crazy week of football. I'm just saying, listen, my team has the Jets this week, and I don't think they're going to blow them out. But I know that there's a quarterback that can be very animated on my team as well, although he isn't right now. We'll get to him in a moment. I shouldn't even go down this route. In any case, my point is just a little bit of respect for the other team. When you're up that much, like celebrating is fine. Having fun doing the celebrations is fine. I felt like the Chiefs crossed the line. I felt they crossed the line.
No. So I'm paraphrasing here. I can't remember which show or movie I've seen it in, but it's this line about how, we know we suck, but don't patronize us by going easy on us. If you can beat the brakes off of us, just beat us and get it over with. So, run the score up on somebody. It's like when you're playing Madden with someone you know you can beat them by 45 points. Why play around with them? Beat them by 45 points. Make it hurt.
Okay, I have no problem with running up the score on you. I just have a problem with running up the score and then shoving your face in it at the same time.
Hey, man, beating a dead horse is not always a bad thing.
All right, well, we shall agree to disagree on this one, my friend. As we mentioned, today is the trade deadline. It happens at 4:00 Eastern. There were a number of trades on Monday. The Titans ended up getting themselves another cornerback in Desmond King for what seemed like not a king's ransom. That's for sure. It seems like they got a steal there to help bolster their secondary. Also makes me wonder, Adoree Jackson probably not coming back anytime soon for that team.
If ever this season.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that's in the cards. There was another trade that I'm forgetting about. It was a linebacker.
Kiko Alonso from the Saints to the 49ers for Quan Alexander. And it was Kiko Alonso at a draft pick.
And then, of course, the 49ers ended up putting their starting quarterback and their starting tight end both on IR and most likely both done for the season. So that's what we know so far as of the recording of this podcast. There could be more coming. There's lots of rumors swirling around my team and Stephon Gilmore as he's entering the last year of his contract. And, the Patriots don't like to pay people, even though Stephon Gilmore is probably one that they should. But the secondary is definitely, I think, an area of strength on the New England Patriots at this particular point in time.
Something needs to be.
But one team, they keep asking, are they going to get a wide receiver? Are they going to get a wide receiver? And that's the Green Bay Packers. And Aaron Rodgers was asked about that this past Sunday.
Aaron, you mentioned the 3 touchdowns to Devontae. You got some stuff going in the passing game to your tight ends, to Jamal, but Devontae was the only wide receiver with more than 1 catch today. The trade deadline's in 2 days. Do you need to add to that position to be the offense that you want to be long term?
Well, Ryan, it's not a bad question, but it's not one that I can answer. We've had many conversations about this type of thing over the years. And I, truly understand my role. Not going to stomp for anybody. Last time I stomped for a player, he ended up going to Buffalo. So I like the guys that we have. We need more production, more consistency at times, but I like the guys that we got. Obviously, I love Devontae. I'm proud of the way Jace played today, proud of Bobby. Love playing with big dog. There's nobody I'd rather be with on the field or in a dark alley. Needed some help than Mercedes. And proud of the way Jamal played. But we got to be more consistent across the board, I think, at times.
Seems pretty clear to me Aaron Rodgers might be playing nice this season, but he's not liking it.
Yeah, definitely not. Look, and, just to turn back time a little bit, last December, January on this podcast, universally, we pretty much called the Packers the worst 13-3 team of all time. And their Achilles heel was stopping the run. And it's showing up again this year. And look, the help they need is really not on the offensive side of the ball. This team can put up points. The rumors.
And they have wide receivers that can catch the ball.
Exactly. So I don't understand
them.
where the wide receivers for Will Fuller from the Texans comes in, but the help they need is in that front 7. And I don't know if there are any players left, that teams are willing to part with at this point to help them in the front 7 to stop the run, because that's where they're getting gashed week in and week out, and yeah, they're what, 5-2 right now. The 2 games they lost was, both in conference. But if you look at what the Bucs did, the Bucs basically kept them off balance with the running game by keeping the run as part of their offense. And on Sunday, Minnesota just pretty much said, we're running Dalvin Cook. We're showing you we're running Dalvin Cook because we know you can't stop Dalvin Cook. Oh, and by the way, if we do decide to dump it off, it's going to Dalvin Cook.
I'm going to say this about that. If the Green Bay Packers need a wide receiver so badly, I know a team that needs a wide receiver from the Green Bay Packers. I will gladly give the Packers. I mean, apparently I don't need to give up that much. So I'll give the Packers a 6th round draft choice for Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Thank you very much. I mean, if they're going to put any value on the wide receivers they have, might as well give you as low as I can go, right?
Look, they've got a solid receiving core. It's not stellar. It's not a unit that I would pretty much put at, say, like top 5, maybe bordering on the top 10 as an entire core of your top 3 receivers. But they've got a solid group in Adams, St. Brown, and Valdez-Scantling. I don't see that being the problem. If anything, Rodgers may hold the ball a little bit too long in certain situations. He still has tight ends and running backs he can check down to that are always available. He does still make plays with his feet, scrambling to buy more time to get those guys open. Not a problem. I don't see – the only reason they would get another wide receiver is to put stress on the opposing defense. Now, it's 2 guys you have to guard instead of 1. But, that one guy, you're still force-feeding him the ball. He still had, 12 targets on Sunday and 8 catches, 2 touchdowns.
there was another reporter, to his credit, during the press conference that said, aren't these problems on offense easily fixed by the return of Alan Lazard and Aaron Jones? I mean, that seems to be really where the issue lies on the offensive side of the ball, is they've had a couple of injuries, a couple of key injuries. Those guys come back healthy and your offense is just fine. So, I can guarantee you this: Will Fuller gets traded to the Green Bay Packers game 1. He tears a hamstring and he's out for the rest of the year.
Okay, don't wish that on anybody.
I'm not wishing it. I'm not wishing it. Much like we said, much like we said, nobody wants to lose to the Jets. That's a fact. Will Fuller tears a hamstring. That's a fact.
Season's not a. Look, what's the next sound?
All right. I forgot that the Packers had played the Minnesota Vikings. So why don't we? I know I had a certain order, but let's go to the Dalvin Cook sound. Dalvin Cook had this to say about his big day against the Green Bay Packers.
And what's with the sunglasses? Have you gone Hollywood on us?
Nah, I wore these in here. I wore these in here today. I don't want to show you how tired I am after the game.
He was wearing sunglasses, I guess, for the first time during a press conference. He's also the first Viking to score 4 touchdowns in a game since Ahmad Rashad. Yes, Mrs. Huxtable's other half in 1975. I was only 1 year old at that point, James.
Yeah, I don't think I was a thought yet.
Dalvin Cook. I was surprised by that. No other Adrian Peterson didn't score 4 touchdowns during his time with the Vikings.
No Randy Moss, no Chris Carter. Not even Herschel Walker for the short time he was there. None of them scored 4 touchdowns in a game.
Well, there you go. So Dalvin Cook getting the job done and getting it done against a division opponent. It's got to feel even better.
Yeah, definitely. This just shows that the season's not over, no matter what situation your team is in either conference. And yeah, these 1 and 2 win teams at this point can definitely turn it around, since there are 7 spots available for the playoffs instead of 6. Not to mention, there's a team out there in the AFC West, currently what we consider the best team in the league right now, though I think they're second best just solely based on the record. That started 1 and 6 to make the playoffs.
I'm sorry. You hung me up because I read an article this morning. How many teams are in the playoffs right now?
Right now, 14 teams will make the playoffs. Right now, right.
Which is already too many. It's I can't believe they expanded it, but whatever. That's what they did. There, have you heard of this new report, James?
I've seen the new report. I have not read it. I don't want to. It's going to make my head hurt. But
apparently, if the NFL,
night, it's a contingency just in case more games are missed.
Yeah, if the NFL can't reschedule games that are lost due to COVID, the contingency is to add 2 more teams to the playoff schedule, which would put half of the teams into the playoffs. It's already 2 too many. Now it'd be 4 too many. So it's a terrible idea on the NFL's part. Now, the only reason why I'm really concerned about this is because, sure, they say it's only a contingency. However, we've seen in the NFL, if the owners like something, and I guarantee the owners are going to like that extra playoff revenue, they're going to keep it. And that's what's got me concerned.
And, greed always wins over reason. It never changes. Unless reason causes some serious detriment to the health and well-being of the players, greed will always win out. Look at how long they delayed doing anything about CTE, head trauma, and changing the rules.
That's a story for another podcast. But I am glad you brought up.
But I'm just using that as an example. So, yeah, it took them a while to come around on that. So unless more playoff games is a detriment to the players' health and well-being, there's no way that they're going to backtrack on wanting more teams in. But you get to the point of half the league being in, waters down the value of the playoffs.
Well, everybody should just get in. Well, let's make it the NHL. Everybody, you get a playoff berth. Go right ahead. Just go right on in. I'm glad you brought up health and well-being, though, because every week on this podcast, I do try to find a theme if I can. And this week's theme is all about the health and well-being of quarterbacks. And we're going to start in New England. Yeah, I know. I've talked about New England a lot today, but we're going to start in New England because I am slightly concerned about the quarterback there and Mr. Cam Newton. He says all the right things, but I don't think his head is necessarily in the right spot. Let's hear what he had to say after the loss this week.
Cam, for all the success that you've had in this league and all the good things that you've done, how difficult has this year been, given your own frustration with yourself? And do you have sort of a method that you go through to try to keep your head right, to keep yourself positive, given that positivity is something that you need people around you to feed off of?
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely frustrating, but this league is not about what have you done before, it's what have you done for me lately. I understand that this is a production-based league, and coach preaches each and every day to protect the football, play smart football, and I'm converting to it. And outside of this last play, I think that's what makes it just so frustrating, being that you're trying extremely hard, but at the end of the day, when you don't get the results that you want, then what do you do? So we just have to focus in, come back in for practice, and just have our best week yet, and keep building from what we have.
See, a lesser media outlet would have paused that sound at the point of when he had that doubt and wouldn't allow him to answer his own question. But I am concerned that doubt is there. What do you do when you're doing everything right and you're striving to do everything right and it's still not enough? And I know that I mean, I've been a Patriot fan for years, well before the dynasty, well before the Tom Brady years. I know what a sucky Patriot team looks like. So I've been here before, but I'm relating this to all those stats that I rolled off about the rookie quarterbacks last week during our preview show. They're all doing the right things, but they're still on losing teams. They're putting up big numbers in losing efforts. And I'm curious what that I'm curious what that does to the psyche of a quarterback. And for Cam's not just losing games. He also understands he's on a prove it contract. He's getting paid only $1 million this year and getting incentives if he hits incentives, which, by the way, he's not anywhere near on track to hit some of those incentives. And his next contract next year is not going to be in the area that he wants it to be, which is the Dak Prescott franchise quarterback money area.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to get anything close to the Dak Prescott franchise quarterback totals that he may be hopefully looking for. He may have to look at something of a mid-range or low tier, something like a Fitzpatrick type deal to come in someplace and be their backup. Unfortunately, I don't think he becomes a starting quarterback again in this league. Just based on the first 6-8 games so far this season in New England, look, he's, like you said, he said all the right things. I've seen the media since Sunday talk about his fumble at the end of the game, and everyone's pointing out he's carrying the ball in the wrong arm. Well, one, pump your brakes on that, because two, he always carries the ball in his right arm, no matter what side he runs to. If he runs to the right, the ball is in his right arm. If he runs to the left,
addressed that in the press
ball
conference,
is in his right arm, right? And he addresses that. You can even see it on the touchdown he scores earlier in the game. The run is to the left side. The ball is in his right arm, and 3 Bills have a chance to swipe at it. He still scores because he celebrates by sticking the ball out in his right hand. So let's miss me with the whole complaining about you got to switch it to your outside arm. No, because that unfortunately, that's a bygone belief. Most players just carry the ball in their dominant arm, and they're just conscious of holding on to it. So that notwithstanding, just his play overall this season he's definitely one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Easily in my top 3. Yeah, it's definitely not good. I'd put him in the top 3 with my own quarterback. And oh gosh, like whatever's going on in Chicago. But I mean, I can't peg it right now, but I would say my biggest concern, his play notwithstanding, which is huge so far this season, the fact that he has no one to throw to. I mean, coupled with the fact now that
Jacoby Myers is a great find. How dare you?
So coupled with the fact that the best wide receiver opted for knee surgery last week is going to be out for the rest of the year, and he's 34, will be 35 if he decides to come back next season, doesn't bode well for any quarterback prospect that this team gets going forward, whether it's Cam or some other guy. I mean, we've already established that the two quarterbacks behind him, Hoyer and Stidham, are definitely not NFL-worthy quarterbacks who should be starting for any team, despite the talent around them, because they're messing up the simple things. And Hoyer, a 12-year veteran, makes mistakes that rookies shouldn't even be making. So I don't know what this team does at quarterback going forward.
Well, I have a feeling they're going to be doing something different next season at quarterback, that's for sure. But Belichick was asked about this on his weekly radio appearance in Boston, and he said this team sold out in the previous years. We went to 4 Super Bowls, won 3 of them, and an AFC championship game in the last 5 years. And quite honestly, that's the answer I want to hear from Belichick, to be truthful about it. Yeah, it would be great to still have Brady here. He wasn't going to re-sign Brady, and Brady's going on and he's doing wonderful things in Tampa, even though he struggled against the New York Giants. It's surprising how much Brady struggles against former coaches of his. Joe Judge, the former special teams coach, probably learned a thing or two while helping out on the defensive side of the ball during practices on how to stop Tom Brady. In any case, I don't have a problem with that. And I saw a lot of people saying, oh, they've got the most cap room. That's because of the opt-outs, which you couldn't foresee. And now they had money to spend, but there was no one to spend it on because free agency was already pretty much done. So there's no one to bring in. Now, could they make a trade right now and get a wide receiver? Do I want Will Fuller to come on this team and pull his hamstring in the first game on the New England Patriots? No, I do not. I just said I would trade a 5th-round pick for Marquez Valdes-Scantling, but I don't think he's on the market. So to me, the Patriots are doing sort of what I wanted them to do, and that was to rip the Band-Aid off and hit the reset button, except they didn't fully rip the Band-Aid off. What they did is they took another Band-Aid and put it over the first Band-Aid, and now both Band-Aids are just slowly peeling off. It's like, no, we need to just get it done and over with instead of this slow death that we're going through right now.
Yeah, it looks like the slow death is going to be the route to go for the time being, Pod. So strap in and buckle up. This is going to be a long and arduous ride.
And I apologize because that was a long way to get to the youngsters that you brought up, like Joe Burrow, who I do believe has a little bit better of an attitude than Cam Newton, if not maybe a few delusions of grandeur.
A couple weeks ago, Zach Taylor said that you guys felt like you should be 4-2. Is this the kind of team you guys were talking about?
Yeah, we know we were talking about it all week in practice. We don't feel like a 1-5 football team. 1 or 2 plays go our way over the last couple weeks, and we're 6-2 right now, 7-1. But that we didn't make those plays until today, and it feels good to make them.
Okay. You're right. You didn't make those plays. So you are a 1-5 football team, Cincinnati Bengals. Just want to make sure you understand. There are no moral victories in the NFL. There's only victories in the NFL.
Are you sure about that?
You are what your record says you are.
Well, they have 2 victories right now, don't they?
Right now they do, because they finally made those plays, apparently. Listen, Joe Burrow is not the problem on the Cincinnati Bengals. He's actually the answer for the Cincinnati Bengals. The problem is the answer is not coming this year.
No, and this team is young, and they're doing pretty much what you expected them to do. They traded Carlos Dunlap, which, I mean, for anybody who's griping about that, you'd have to really be a Bengals fan. I understand, but you have to get the veterans who have been there 6+ years out of the stadium, like pretty much out of the facility. They have to go. You know, these are guys that have had some, you know, no matter how fleeting or minimal it was, a lot of these guys are still left over from the previous coaching regime, and they have to go. You're building something new, different, if you will, from when Marvin Lewis was the head coach, and all of his guys eventually will leave this franchise. Don't get used to them sticking around for, you know, the next 3 years or so to be 8+ year veterans. No, they have to go so that the new coaching regime can build around Joe Burrow. And, you know, it's pretty much just getting the right young talent in there, a couple of key free agents in certain spots. This is how your franchises are built. And like
you're saying the right, you have to find that right nucleus to build around. The Bengals are going to build it around Joe Burrow. T. Higgins, I think, is an excellent compliment. He belongs in this conversation as the nucleus of the Bengals. I think Joe Mixon perhaps belongs. I don't know if Joe Mixon.
No, Joe Mixon wants out. Quiet as kept, and I know it's been very limited as far as the reporting. Joe Mixon wants out of Cincinnati. He's not happy with his role.
Yeah, that's sort of a problem because he's got the talent, but he doesn't seem he always seems hurt too. Just perhaps Joe Mixon needs to be not part of that nucleus. But in any case, they're going about it right. To take it back to the Patriots, the nucleus Belichick decided to build around were his old aging veterans, the McCourties, the Hightowers, the Chungs, the Edelmans, the guys that are at the end of their career. Like, I don't want my nucleus, I don't want my team built for the future around guys that aren't going to be part of the future. Some of those guys are important to sort of, you know, teach the youngsters the way, but that was sort of my problem with the Patriots. And I see where the Bengals are going. The Bengals are going in the right direction right now. That we'll see next year if they can continue to build on this. We saw a Cleveland Browns team that tried to, and it doesn't seem to be working out for them. And I'm wondering, I should have probably listened to Justin Herbert's. I should have listened to Justin Herbert's press conference because I'm curious how Justin feels about this, because he's another one that's putting up huge numbers, but at the end of the day, the stat that really matters is not the one that they're getting.
Yeah, and he played an awesome game on Sunday. And look, the score was 24-3 at one point. And it was like the end of the third quarter. It was like 5 minutes left in the third quarter, and it was 24-3. I'm thinking, watching my Sunday ticket, I can swipe off this game and watch something else. But no.
Another rookie quarterback made his first start, and I'm not sure if I should be worried or impressed with his comments after this question.
Tua, we all saw your first drop back and you landed on your back and fumbled the football. What was that sequence like? It seemed like a real prime welcome to the NFL moment for you.
That was a good hit. It's football. Try to step up, make a throw. Aaron Donald, swiped at the ball behind me, and I don't know who the guy was that took me off my feet and pretty much body slammed me. But hey, that's football. And I'm not gonna lie, I did enjoy getting hit that first time. That was definitely a welcome.
Enjoyed getting hit and fumbling the football. Wait a second. That's not the right answer, Tua.
Hey, look, I would say half that answer, I'm laughing at, and the other half, not so much. So you can pretty much determine which is which. Yeah, look, he showed himself to be very competent on Sunday. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't stellar.
Wasn't pretty.
It definitely wasn't pretty. He definitely got away with some throws, especially the lone touchdown pass that he threw. He got away with that one because coverage on that, as far as the window of opportunity to actually complete that pass, was almost zero. And by almost zero, I'm talking about 0.8% chance to complete that pass based by the metrics that the league uses now. There was no way that ball should have been thrown, and yet he threw it. He was lucky enough that the receiver held on for the touchdown catch. The rest of the game was pretty much give kudos to Tom Flores. because if you just take away the score of the game
Brian
and look
Flores. Tom Flores is the guy that's going in the Hall of Fame. Brian, not quite yet.
Brian, yes, sorry. But if you look at the box score and you eliminate the actual score of this game and see the numbers put up as far as yardage and first downs, you'd say the Rams blew them away. Not
Rams
2017.
The Rams were supposed to win this game and didn't. This was one of those games that was drunk in week 7.
Oh, yeah, the Dolphins didn't get the memo.
Yeah. Drew Lock, this was actually an upset that I called, although I didn't deserve this victory whatsoever. I thought the Chargers had this game won, but Drew Lock, Drew Lock had a few things to say.
I mean, you're getting booed off the field at halftime, and then you played in the fourth quarter. I mean, that is the best football I've seen you play in the NFL. What happened? Can you just kind of take us through the crazy juxtaposition?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, I got to play in the first game against the Titans. I played a couple drives in Pittsburgh. Jeff came in, then Brett came in, went to New England, and played Kansas City. We've had 3 full games with this offense. And like the normal personnel, I mean, we lost our guard again. So, maybe we're just starting to click. Maybe people had opinions of us based off of, 6 games with 3 different quarterbacks, multiple lines, guys on defense getting knocked out. I think people just love to make opinions and jump to it quick. And I hope that, we can keep proving them wrong.
You know what they say about opinions, James? They're just like noses. Everybody has one.
Noses.
Except they don't say noses. Drew Lock, I still have an opinion of your team, and it's not one of high praise. I don't think the Denver Broncos are a good football team. Congratulations on your victory. I can't say anything more than congratulations on your victory, but I don't think you're going to see many more W's for the season. I do not see the Broncos as a playoff team, despite what you might think.
Yeah, definitely not. Look, this division is split in half. Broncos and Chargers on one end, Chiefs and Raiders on the other. And the gap in between those two halves is pretty much the Grand Canyon, both literally and figuratively.
There you go. In New Orleans, they had they lucked out on a victory. Although they wouldn't call it luck, they'd call it clutch. And, Cam Jordan.
Yeah, Cam, I just want to hear more about Will Clutch.
That's just what I call him. There's some other nicknames out for the team, but this one's more kid appropriate in terms of who he is. I mean, he comes up when we need him big, just like he did this game.
So I'm curious what the not kid appropriate nicknames are. Like, is it Will Big Lutz?
Yeah, I'm not going to touch that one.
I'm going with Will Lutz. It's got to be Will. It's got to be Will Lutz.
Obviously, it's something that rhymes with Lutz.
because if he makes the kick, Will Lutz. Now, if he misses the kick, Will Lutz. There's a difference there. I know you can't tell because my words got bleeped every single time I said them.
Much like Aaron bleeping boom in baseball.
Well, there's no difference there. There's only one meaning behind that bleep.
Look, this is a game that, for all intents and purposes, I don't care what anyone says, should not have gone to overtime. And for all the hype that and we'll get into this more on Thursday, for all the hype that was put into the quarterback switch, it's not working out for Chicago.
No, it's not. Now, we broke down the Bill Belichick press conference last week. By the way, first questions out of the gate were perfect. Exactly what we told the reporters to do. Ask about very specific game situations. And you're going to get an answer from Bill Belichick. Later on in his press conference, they started asking him about his feelings, and there was like 5-second pauses. You cannot ask a Sith Lord about his feelings because a Sith Lord does not have feelings. Now, Mike Tomlin I thought at one point during his press conference was going to go the Bill Belichick route because he did answer a couple times saying, already answered that.
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But then he was asked
that yesterday.
He was asked this question to wrap up his press conference, and it was a refreshing statement from a head coach for once. I was like, that's so refreshing to hear.
Yeah, Mike, the entertainment value for those of us that watch is just off and off the charts in these games. Today was obviously no exception. Is it fun for you while these games are going on, or is it more stressful?
You better believe it. It's an honor. It's a humbling experience, but man, this is what we signed up for, man. This is why we do what we do at this level, be it coach or player or trainer or anybody, man. You want to be in these stadiums. You want to, have Nance and Romo calling your game. You know you're in the right building. And we got respect for that. We appreciate it, and we're honored to be a part of it.
Now, if they lost, I wonder if the answer would have been different. But
slightly different, but the overall sentiment would still be the same.
At least it was he gave a real answer. He said he's having fun, and that's good to hear, especially because this was a coach. I know I questioned, is it time for a change in Pittsburgh? Is it time to start thinking about a change in Pittsburgh? And
you're not the only one. A lot of people on this podcast questioned that, but you know who didn't?
You didn't.
Pointing at this guy.
Yeah, you didn't.
Question this guy.
You didn't, and a lot can be said that, their starting quarterback is healthy this season. And he seems to be having some fun this season. Again,
not just him. The entirety of the offense is healthy this year.
It's easy to have fun when you're undefeated.
Of course.
It's when you get punched in the mouth. How much fun are the Jets having this season? Bet they're having parties. How much fun they're having.
Look, and to be perfectly honest, Pittsburgh could have easily lost each of the last two games. That's how close they were. You're talking about one-score games, and they basically escaped with those victories. And as I said on Thursday's podcast, no matter who wins this game, the same team's probably not going to win the rematch on Thanksgiving night. So we're talking about 3 weeks from Thursday. These guys get together in Pittsburgh Thanksgiving night. I might very well pick the Baltimore Ravens unless the wheels completely fall off at that point. But as long as the Ravens don't lose another game between now and then and they play well, yeah, I'll most likely be picking the Ravens to beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. My mom won't be happy about that, but it's just the way it goes.
We're going to wrap things up. I've been on this all season long. I mean, Pete Carroll is absolutely infatuated with DK Metcalf. I mean, I am surprised that Pete Carroll has not moved in with DK Metcalf at this point. He is just 100% in love with him. And you're right. How can you not be? The man is winning football games for his team. He's doing everything that is asked of him. And of course, he's built like a Greek god. But I mean, at this point, everybody in Seattle loves each other. It's time. Maybe it's time for the Pete Carroll and DK Metcalf show. Here we go.
Let yourself go. Baby, don't you weep. Let's bring him out, the hardest working man in show business, DK Metcalf.
Best coach in the NFL right there.
Thank you, DK.
All right, Russ for MVP train is back on the tracks. Let's go.
I mean, they start each press conference and they're like, thank you. And then as they're going to the next press conference, the first guy throws to that guy. It's like, wait a second. It's like a choreographed program going on there in Seattle. And now we've got Pete Carroll singing James Brown songs to bring in DK Metcalf to the stage. It's like, what is going on in Seattle?
Hey, look, Pete Carroll, first of all, since he's come back to the NFL, has pretty much been a player's coach. I remember his first stint in the NFL when he coached both the Jets and the Patriots. And
let's forget about the fact that he was trying to ruin my Patriots. Let's forget.
Hey, look, he was pretty much a hard ass at that point. Yeah, he tried to have fun, but he's pretty much a hard ass. And now that this second stint around with the Seahawks, his entire tenure with the Seahawks, he's pretty much been the player's coach. He he vibes with them on a level like most coaches can't. And that's pretty much of him immersing himself into the culture of the players, their interests, their hobbies, what they're up on, social media, something that he probably would never gotten into if it wasn't for this bunch of players that he's had the last decade or so. And as far as DK Metcalf, I mean, if you ever wondered what a combination body of Owens and Moss with the skills of each merged together look like, that's DK Metcalf. He literally looks like the meshing of Moss and Owens, and it's insane, both physically and the attributes he displays on the field. It's sickening. Most players would take that slant route, cross the field, and dip out of bounds. No, he turns it upfield for a touchdown.
And what Pete Carroll said during his press conference, he knew as soon as he caught the ball, he's like, that's a touchdown. He didn't even question. As soon as he caught the ball on the slant, he was like, he's gone. No one's going to catch him. No one's going to catch him. Now, what else is interesting about what you just said about Pete Carroll, about how he's sort of ingrained himself into the culture and is really attached to the youthfulness of his squad. He's the oldest head coach in the NFL.
Yeah. And that says volumes because, hell, I mean, it's not something you want to see Belichick doing. It's definitely not something that we would have seen Coughlin doing or Bill Parcells when he was coaching. I mean, look, it's you have to change with the times. And there was a transitional period from the mid to late 90s to the early to mid 2000s where those coaches from the mid to late 90s basically burnt themselves out because they didn't understand their players. They were still coaching an old school way of football and they weren't trying to change with the game. And these are coaches who were winning at the time. And if you ever wonder why there was a slew of coaches, pretty much I'd say a 10-year period between 95 and 05 who just were like, yeah, I think I'm going to retire. It's the burnout factor. You bring in a new group. Like if you coach long enough, you're going to bring in a new group of players than when you started, obviously. And if you're around even longer than that, you're going to do it twice. So now your players are younger, you're older, you're set in your ways, but now you still have to adjust to the attitude of a new generation of players coming in. Because basically, that's what the NFL is. Every generation of players is basically 5 years.
Yeah. Bill Belichick still gets away with it, though, because he still wins.
Well, I mean, because there's a culture ingrained that he pretty much says it's this way or no way, and, take it or leave it. Most players leave it. The handful that can take it, adopt the Patriot way, and they go on to, for a 20-year period, win Super Bowls. Not so much now, but like you said, he's paying for it.
Well, and there's still something to be said about that type of coach. I still think there's room for that type of coach, but you're right. You have to have the right mentality player to mesh with that type of coach. And we've talked about this on this podcast before, maybe not necessarily on the NFL Sound Off podcast, but on Next Fan Up, that the coach has got to know his players and he's got to know how to deliver the message properly to those players. And when he's coaching, he's not taking the round peg and trying to put it into the square hole, or actually you can fit a round peg into a square hole. The other way around, you can't fit a square peg. Depending on the size of the square peg, you could still probably fit it into there. In any case, it's not going to be a perfect fit. And you want to make sure that the message that you're delivering is hitting the players the way that they're going to receive it. And if that's with a little bit of honey or sugar, then you got to deliver the honey and the sugar. And if that's with a little bit of the stick, that's probably a bad use of word there, bad phrase there.
Carrot or the stick is pretty much what you're looking for.
Yeah, basically. That's what I'm looking for. But even still, I don't want to use that phrase. That's an edit. And if that's with a little bit of tough love, then you gotta give them a little bit of tough love. But in any case, the Pete Carroll DK Metcalf show, that's a podcast that needs to happen. I volunteer myself as the producer. Of course
you do.
I'm not just volunteering. I'm volunteering to be paid to be the producer of the Pete Carroll DK Metcalf show. I'll gladly make that happen.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Come on. We can't make this happen? I think it would be great. Pete Carroll's got all the life. DK Metcalf is like the straight. That's the thing. DK Metcalf, man, that was the most I've seen of a personality from DK Metcalf. The end of his press conference saying the Russ MVP train back on the tracks. First of all, the Russ MVP train isn't off the tracks. It's happening. You might as well. You can put it in stone. You can make the trophy right now because there's no way Russell Wilson's not getting MVP this year. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. Dalvin Cook can score 4 touchdowns a game for the rest of the season, and Russ Wilson is still getting the MVP. And you want to know why that is, James?
Why is that, Pod?
Because he's never received a vote for the MVP award ever in his career. Not one.
Oh, man. Look,
it's week freaking 9 in the NFL. I don't want to hear it anymore about Russ Wilson not getting a vote for an MVP award because he's getting it this year. It's pretty clear and simple. I got to make sure Russ Wilson gets a vote.
Hey, look, that fact notwithstanding, he is playing the best football right now of any other player in the league.
I don't necessarily know if he's playing the best of any player in the league, but he is playing very good, very great.
When it comes to MVP, yeah, he's playing like an MVP right now. I mean, I want to throw other names in there. I can't because no one's even in the loss to Arizona, yeah, he threw 3 interceptions, but you know, you can dissect those and say at least one of them wasn't his fault, tip balls or whatever like that. But those notwithstanding, if that's his worst performance, because he did balance that out with 3 touchdowns, that wasn't really a horrible game. It was a so-so game, but it wasn't anything that's like, yeah, this will take him out the running. Not really.
All right.
Because he still kept him in the game for overtime.
You want to come up with other names, but you can't. All right. There's one team that's undefeated right now. They haven't even lost a game yet.
That's true, but no one's playing outstandingly enough to be considered for MVP. Not even Ben Roethlisberger, who almost cost his team both of those games over the last 2 weeks, like I mentioned.
Fair enough, but I'm still going to put Ben Roethlisberger's name on there. Okay. There is that team that is the Kansas City Chiefs that have only lost one game, and it's sort of like, oh, it's too easy. They're making it too easy. They're making it look too easy. Their point differential is 101.
Mm-hmm. Yes, their point differential is huge. Understand, though, they've had games where the offense has not shown up, like the Bills. The offense pretty much didn't do much. They had to run the ball to win that game. The game last week against the Broncos, offense didn't do much there. Special teams and defense had to score touchdowns. So it's really not all Patrick Mahomes this year. It is literally a team effort out there in Kansas City. Mahomes may be the lead guy, but he's not dominating the way he used to.
Well, if that's going to be your argument, then one could argue that perhaps it's DK Metcalf who's more deserving of the MVP consideration than Russell Wilson.
When was the last time we had a wide receiver win MVP?
Has a wide receiver won MVP? That's a great question.
Nope. Closest we've come is Jerry Rice finishing second, I believe. I don't think he actually won league MVP.
And then, they're winning ugly, but there's a certain team that played on Monday night that wears red and black.
Yeah, and that's the other thing.
They're doing much better this year with a certain quarterback than they did previously.
And for them, I would say they're playing more so up and down to their competition. And when the competition is high, they're blowing them out. See the Packers game. But when the competition is low, at times they're struggling. See last night.
I'll give you a defender to consider as well. How about Darius Leonard? How about Darius Leonard of the Indianapolis Colts? That defense has been on fire, and they struggled without him. And he came back.
Yeah, they do struggle without him because he's missed 3 games this season.
Yes, and when he came back, he made an impact immediately. So I'll give you a defensive name to consider. He's not going to win.
No, of course not, because Aaron Donald will always win any defensive player.
And we gave you all the other teams, and James has brought up perfect arguments, and none of them beat he's never received a vote ever for MVP. None of those other arguments beat that one. nextfanup@gmail.com. If you've got an argument that perhaps beats that one, I would love to hear it. Send us the email, nextfanup@gmail.com. You can tweet us at NFU Podcast, facebook.com/NFU Podcast, a great way to also continue the conversation. You'll find all of Doc's recipes of the week. Doc, the award-winning gridiron chef, has been giving us a recipe every week. They're all on our Facebook page, or you can try it out on our website, nextfanup.wordpress.com. All of our recipes, all of Doc's recipes are there. Our power rankings are there. I don't remember if I put last week's power rankings on the website or not. They'll get there eventually. And listen, the website is a work in progress. I am not a website designer, so I'm doing my best there. On top of that, I don't, despite the fact that I'm unemployed, I don't really have the time to be messing around with a website. As much as people, I am like the busiest unemployed person I think you might meet. But in any case, nextfanup.wordpress.com. Go check that out. There will be a Thursday night football preview for you coming tomorrow. This week is the Green Bay Packers versus the San Francisco 49ers. Boy, yeah. I will tell you right now, I have not had a good year when it comes to picks, and certainly not on Thursday night. I cannot get the Thursday night game right. Now,
yeah, I missed the last couple of weeks myself.
Now, my thought going into week 9 was I was going to make all my choices and then immediately pick the opposite, because that seems to be you might have a better week if you did that with my picks. However, I don't think I can do that on Thursday. The 49ers are just decimated. They are a shell of themselves. Their XFL team is going out there again, and the Packers are angry, my friend. So I don't think I can pick against the Packers on Thursday night. But hey, listen, the XFL team won a game before.
Yeah, that is true. They did. And also remember, like I said, the XFL team, they can still run the football, because it doesn't matter who's in that backfield. Someone's getting the rock.
So we'll have a Thursday night football preview for you tomorrow. We'll be back again on Thursday with the entire week 9 preview. And now we have definitely reached the halfway mark of the football season. So we'll probably talk about a lot of these teams in that sense. I can tell you, I'll give you a preview of Jay's totally useless stats right now. I don't remember a season, James, where we had so many haves and have-nots. I believe I counted this out. There are 14 teams that have won 5 games or more, and there are 12 teams that have only won 2 games or less. There's a huge gap between the haves and the have-nots this year. Normally, there's only like 4 or 5 teams at the top, 4 or 5 teams at the bottom, and everybody else is in the middle. It's not that way this year at all. There's a bunch of teams at the top. There's a bunch of teams at the bottom. There's a few teams in the middle, but not that many are sitting there in the middle. So it's an interesting year this year.
Definitely interesting in that I would say that's attributed to a lot of those teams with 2 or less wins have played a lot of the teams with 5 or more wins so far this season through the first 7 to 8 weeks. So it's what you get. Unfortunately, on Sunday, a lot of those 2 or less win teams pretty much got their second win against a lot of those 5+ win teams.
Yeah, the underdogs certainly came through this past week, but we still have one conference that doesn't have a team with a winning record. I don't know which conference, which division that is, but still one division looking for a winning record.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Season's not over yet.
For James, I'm Pod.
8-7-1. I'm calling it 8-7-1.
Thanks to everyone for listening. There you have it.
Dear friends and colleagues, saying goodbye is never easy. I believe we can all feel proud of what we have done together, and through it all, you have maintained your professionalism and commitment, and remain true to the spirit of the Charter. That principle.
We go out, we hit people in the mouth.